Welcome to our world. Won't you come on in? Waiting just for you. Welcome to our world.
Okay. We are live.
Oh, great. That's great. That's great news.
Welcome one and all.
Welcome
and one.
Uncle Brian, we're happy to have you.
Yes.
So
I think he's probably tuned out by now.
probably. So here's what I want to talk about today.
Okay.
Unless you have a topic that you would like to discuss.
Depends on what your topic is.
All right. So what I want to talk about are the menopause.
Yes. Yes.
So would you like to tell the story?
I've told the story many times. I'd like to hear how you tell the story, actually.
All right. So pretty much my dad and I are in Florida right now. And what had happened was, this was what, last year now?
The year before, it was 2021.
Oh, wow. Jeez. Okay. Yeah. So this is 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Year and a half, whatever. It doesn't matter. We were cleaning up some loose branches because a hurricane was about to come through and you don't want loose branches. I don't have to explain to anyone. The hurricanes. Yep. Okay. So we were cleaning up the yard in preparation for the hurricane, and we heard what I thought was like birds in the distance or
this
something.
Was just squeaking.
Right? And just the sound of it just sounded like birds to me. And so he and I wanted to go inside because the wind's starting to pick up. Like, I don't want to be outside, whatever. And it's also late at night at this point. Mm-hmm. And so we hear this, and he's like, I don't know. I don't think that's birds. And I'm like, yes, it is. It's birds. Let's go. Come on.
And you thought it was coming from. You said you thought it would sound like it was coming from, like, not far away.
Well, yeah, that's what I said. I thought it was like down the street.
It wasn't right there.
Right.
The point.
Yeah.
Right.
And so we had this pile of branches on the side of the house, and I mean, I don't remember. I guess maybe like what happened. Did you?
It's like what was all the palm? What do they call them?
Oh yeah, the
branches, but
it's like the palm tree. Oh yeah, maybe that's it.
Whatever. Well, whatever. Anyway, yeah, so we were picking them up a few at a time to put them in a garbage can.
Right.
So we could put it out because they were picking up the yard waste the next day, and it would be the morning, before the hurricane was coming through. And then as we started picking them up, we heard it again, and then we saw something move. Something that's very small.
I thought, I'm pretty sure I thought, maybe I'm remembering this incorrectly, that it was like a rat or something.
Yeah.
Like I didn't freak out, but my first thought was not, oh, this is a kitten. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this?
Yeah.
And then we realized, like, as you start taking the other ones off, that's what it is. It's like,
at first it was just these small oval shaped masses that were like sort of very slowly moving, and because they didn't really move fast and their legs were very short at that point, it almost looked like they were just kind of like slithering.
Oh, right. Well, so the point he's trying to make is that these were fresh kittens. At that point they were maybe 2 weeks old?
I think about 2 weeks. Their eyes were open.
Yeah.
But you can tell that they could barely get around. They could move slowly. Because when I was a kid, my best friend for a while, he had a cat, and the cat was always having kittens because they didn't have the cat fixed, whatever. Mm-hmm. And so they constantly had kittens. So I had a rough idea of how old they were from that. And I think they were maybe 2 weeks old, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so from there, I just remember immediately being like, we have to save these kittens. There's a hurricane coming in. Like, we have to do something.
Yep.
And obviously there was a debate in the house about what we should do with these kittens. And I remember we put the camera out to keep an eye on them because we didn't see the mother at that point. And so we were assuming, with how young that they were, obviously the mother hopefully was still around.
Mm-hmm.
And so we put the camera out with the night vision and all that, and you saw like one or two of them crawling, like trying to get out and all this stuff. Anyway, we don't have to go into
we put a box down there.
Yeah,
too,
we put a box. We don't have to
put
go
some branches
into
back over it, but yeah,
into like the great
Every
detail about it. But we put the camera up, and then we were finally able to see that the mother, she was taking them one by one from that spot then, because obviously for cats, then she sees that, and for her, it's like, this is not a safe spot anymore.
But I think, I don't think we saw her on the camera at first.
No, we saw her outside first.
Well, but what happened, remember, when they started crawling out, like we went out and I went back out and was kind of putting them back in because we didn't want them wandering off.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the one point when, I don't remember if you were out there too, when I was like putting them back, trying to keep them back in, we looked like just a few feet away, and the mother cat
she was
like standing there watching us.
Yeah.
So then we left, and that's when, like you said, she started sort of
taking them. And so we actually, what was it for overnight? Then we didn't know where they were, right?
Oh, that's right.
Because we had the camera set up, but then all we saw was her taking them. We didn't see where she was taking them.
Yeah, we saw the general direction she went, but that's it, because then it was out of the frame.
And just trying to keep the story like as contained as possible, because obviously a lot of stuff happened. Our next door neighbor is actually like, she's very, very friendly to stray cats in the neighborhood, and she keeps an eye on all of them. And she said to us when we mentioned something that she thought they went in one of her flower pots. And so we went, we saw that they were like there were 4 kittens total in her flower pot. And we made the executive decision, by we, I mean me, and then I forced everyone to go along with this plan. We went and we took the 4 kittens, and we have like a screened in patio on the back of our house, and we put them in there, and we have like a kennel, like a kitten, like a cat kennel carrier. Yeah. That's a cat carrier, that we put towels in and water and stuff, and we put them in there. And then I don't remember how. Did we put food out or something for the mother to like get her on the back porch?
I'm sure we did.
Or something. So we did something, whatever, one way or another. We got the mother onto the back porch, and then we shut the doors so she couldn't get out. Right. And obviously this part is like a little controversial maybe, because yes, we did indeed trap her. And honestly, that was the worst part of all of this for me, was seeing her freak out, which obviously she had every right to do. But I mean, I'm still convinced if we hadn't done that, at least one of them probably would have died during that hurricane.
Right.
And
because you remember, we found them, like the next door neighbor, they were in that big flower pot.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I wasn't listening.
I know you weren't.
Okay.
Thank you for admitting that to
speaking
Uncle Brian. I appreciate that.
Speaking of.
You finally owned up to it. So anyway.
I just heard a meow.
Oh, well, they could stay out there. So you're spoiling the ending. Stop it. We have to get there. But yeah, so it was rough because the mother kitten, you could see she was freaking out. We had water and food out there for her and everything, and she would have been fine, obviously, by herself in the hurricane. But with the kittens, we didn't want to leave them alone, and we didn't want to lock the door to keep the mother out, because then she would be freaking out. And so we just had to trap them all in there for what was it, 2 to 3 days?
No. I think it was only like a day.
Well, no, I'm saying like
opened.
total, because we opened the door after like the worst part of the hurricane, just so the mother could get out to go get food and like do whatever else she needed to do. Oh, and we had a litter box out there. Like we had the whole setup.
Yeah.
And you know, we did our best in this situation to make it comfortable, knowing that the mother would probably never be comfortable. She was a stray, so she already probably didn't like people and all of that.
I mean, when she was climbing up the screens and everything, and
trying to get out.
Horrible.
Yeah, it was very sad. But so after that, after the hurricane passed, we let them all out. We let them go, because the plan was never, kittens, we're going to keep these kittens forever or something like that.
We won the kitten lottery.
Yeah.
4 times
don't
over.
get me started, because that's part of what I want to talk about right now, but we'll get there in a second, because we're almost finished with this story. So they leave, and then what? I mean, a couple months go by. We see them in passing, but in general, it's not like,
Yeah, they were probably Yeah, they were a couple months old, I think, when we saw them again.
Yeah, so we see them again, and then what we did was we started putting kitten food out for them because, it's rough out there on the streets. So we were trying to do our best to provide.
We were like a soup kitchen for kittens.
We were pretty much like a soup kitchen. We still are in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
We're more like a homeless shelter now, I guess, than anything. But yeah, so we started putting food out for them, and slowly they got closer to us. Physically and emotionally.
Yeah.
And yeah, now we got to the point where they were coming in onto the patio to eat, and then into like this inside room that we have, and then in the house.
Our captives have gradually grew to love us.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot, about how it's like why can't I think of it?
I know.
The Beauty and the Beast thing. Stockholm Syndrome. Where you fall in love with your captor and all that. That's what has happened with these kittens.
Yeah.
But so this is really, because you just said that, what I want to emphasize with these kittens is that they come and go as they please. We do not keep them in here. We do not believe, the kitten, what? Go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say, you skipped over like and I know why, because we don't want to go into too much detail, but you skipped over the part where, when they were about,
oh gosh,
I'm going to say 8 weeks old, maybe.
I'm going to stop you right there, and I'm going to tell you why I skipped over this, because I'm trying to block it from my memory, because it was such a traumatic experience.
But I think,
go ahead.
Here's the thing. Everything that we did with good intentions.
I know.
Right?
So you tell this part.
So we were under the impression that, and this was, based on like looking up things online and that, we were under the impression that in Orlando there was an area, there was a like a pet shelter where we could just take them, get them their shots, and they would basically do which I'm not crazy about this, but they do the ear clipping thing so that anyone that finds them knows that, hey, these cats have their shots, they don't have rabies or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what we did is we basically did the same thing. We had been after we found, quote unquote, found them again, we had started putting food out for them. And we had been I don't remember if we were, at that point, we're putting it on the porch regularly or not.
Well, I don't know, but anyway.
But one way or another, we put food on the porch to try to get them all come up on the porch, and then we closed the door, okay? Well, they were not domesticated in any way at that point. So what we wanted to do was, and this was at night, the one night, wanted to get them in the pet carrier, and then take them the next morning to get this done.
Yep.
Okay, so we did that. I would say the first few were relatively easy. It wasn't too hard to get them in the thing. The last one was really hard because he was climbing, and I don't remember which one that was.
I think that was Sephiroth the first time. Anyway,
we finally get them in the thing. So the 4 of them are in here. We had like a towel on the bottom so it would be softer. I think we actually had a box with a little bit of cat litter, and we had something with
again,
food.
We tried to do our best.
We tried to make it as good as we can. But they're all like cowering in the back of this thing, scared to death as we're trying to calm them, talk to them.
Yep.
So anyway, we put a blanket over this carrier so that they would be as calm as possible. And they were all together, which was good. And that's how they were for the night. Next morning, as early as we could.
And they were still like tiny at this point. It's not these were full-grown cats that we shoved in a cat carrier. No,
they were maybe 8 weeks. They were small.
Yeah.
And it was a big carrier, too. This is really a carrier that's for at least a medium-sized dog, right? So anyway, the following morning, as early as we could, like we tried to time it so that we could get to this place as soon as they opened, which I forget what time that was. It was maybe 8 a.m., maybe 7 even. I can't remember.
Anyway.
So we go there, and then, first of all, we hear dogs barking and everything. And the bottom line is we had the option of either dropping them off there, and they would just basically keep them. They'd get their shots, but we knew they'd be scared to death, and they'd be away from the mother, and we didn't feel right doing that.
And then they would probably be separated.
And who knows what would happen to them, right?
A whole thing.
So we wound up bringing them home and then just letting them out.
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's frustrating at this point because it's taken, however much time at this point to get them comfortable enough to come onto the back porch
at least
again
trust
and
us
all
a
that.
little bit.
Yes. Yeah. And what do? We shove them in a carrier. We take them to an unknown place for no reason. If you ask them, and then we let them go and we're like, wasn't that a fun little trip?
So at this point, they probably absolutely hate us and are scared to death of us, right? So the weird thing was, though, when we brought them back and let them out, within a day or something, very quickly again, they were still coming around for
back
food.
For food, yeah.
Right? Food is this very strong motivator.
Yes, I can relate.
Yes. And
I also don't actually want to be here, but I stay here because
that's the only
I get
reason.
fed regularly.
Yeah, for free. So you can continue with the story then.
Okay, yeah.
But I think we had to say that because
we
it's
did,
part of the story.
But I just want to speed this up a little bit because obviously a lot of stuff happened in the middle and all, but we only have so much time.
And then on day 224.
So anyway, then we actually wound up there's another place here in Orlando that does this for free with stray cats where they will give them their shots, get them fixed, do the ear clipping and everything. Yeah, it's called Pet Alliance in Orlando. And they have a whole setup where they get the cats and bring them back. But then because we felt so bad about the first situation, we offered to bring the cats in ourselves again so that, we were there with them the whole time and all that. And then after they do that, they just let them go back in the area where they found them. So it's like you're living your life, but now you're healthy and not a threat to humanity. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we, again, at this point, the Stockholm Syndrome is continuing and we get them into the house again.
Yeah. Cause at this point they trusted us enough that they came into the house to eat.
Oh, right. Yeah. And so we had 4 separate carriers from Pet Alliance then at this point, and we brought them in one by one, coaxed them in with food. Yes, what?
I'm figuring they were probably about 5 months old at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe even 6. 5, 6 months old, because it was in January. And so anyway.
So the first 3, like I said, one by one, we bring them in. The first 3, we don't have any issue. We put treats in the carrier. They go back to the carrier. We take them to the front room. It's fine. The 4th one sees what is going on.
Yeah.
And I'm tearing up over here.
Because remember what happened.
I know. We tried to bring the last 2 in. We didn't try to bring them in at the same time, but it didn't work. And
2
the 2
came in at the same time.
It was a whole thing. So the 4th one realizes what's going on and he's freaking out.
Yeah.
And we had gotten him into the smaller outer room between our patio and the inside of the house. And we had the carrier there and it was just me and you, and I'm holding the carrier. You were trying to grab him. You get him, you put him in the carrier. He jumps right out. You had to get him. It was awful. It was so, I don't want to talk about this and I'm actually tearing up. It was so sad.
I thought, and this was the one that we call Cloud, which you can talk about in detail later. But I felt so bad because to me, it's almost the equivalent of, and maybe you probably won't like this analogy, but cows being led to the slaughter, and then one cow seeing the one in front of it get slaughtered, and then be freaking out.
Similar to that.
Because here's the thing, to him, he didn't know what was going on.
No,
he just
exactly,
he just saw that CJ was put into this carrier against his will.
Yes.
Right? That's all he saw.
Yes.
And he saw that he was next and he had no idea what was going to happen.
He's freaking out. Yeah.
It was like,
And you're still so young at this point. Like you said, at most they were 6 months at this point.
At most, right.
So it's still a baby, still doesn't have a good reason to trust us. We've already fooled him once, fool me once, shame on you and all that.
Yeah.
So anyway, again, because we got to hurry this story up. So we take them to go get fixed and get their shots and all that. No issues. We bring them back. It was the same day, right?
It was
8
the next
hours.
day.
Oh, it was the next day.
Or,
okay.
No, wait.
Well, whatever. It was a short amount of time.
I think it was the same day because we took them early in the morning and then we were able to pick them up later in the day. Yep.
So we bring them back. We actually put them in my bedroom. They were very groggy and out of it right when they got back because of the drugs and all that.
Yep.
So we put food and a litter box and water in my room because it also said about limiting sunlight and all this. So for a couple hours they were in there. Well, also with that, the first three, they were like fine after a couple hours and acting pretty normal and not that weird towards us. And they were fine. And the fourth one stayed under my bed for like, I don't even remember. It was a while. It was a very long time. Anyway, so we were very worried then that, and keeping in mind this whole time that we obviously did all of this for them so that they wouldn't, again, with the ear clipping. So if someone saw them in the neighborhood, they would know that they weren't a threat, and so that they wouldn't get any diseases and all of that. Like we did not do any of this so that we could keep them as pets. That was never ever the intention, and it still is not the intention.
Well, and here's the thing, right? Our HOA says you can only have up to 4 pets.
And we already have another
we already
cat.
have a cat.
So yeah, it was like always for them. And so I remember when we were driving back with them, I just kept saying, mostly to make myself feel better, like this was for them. If we let them go and they never come back and they never want to like eat food over here again, that's okay because they'll be safe. And I'm saying this as like I'm crying in the car on the way back and all that. But long story short, the Stockholm Syndrome is complete. and not only did they return, but they now pretty much just live with us and they're freeloaders.
Well, here's the thing. I think, first of all, I mean, cats, dogs too, but I mean, just specifically cats are smarter than people think. And so I think they actually realize, not that they know that the shots were good or anything like that, but in the end, they saw that, hey, I'm okay. I wasn't, you know what I mean? I didn't get killed.
Yeah.
They let me go. Like when we did this, we still wound up letting them go, and they knew. Obviously, we were putting food out for them every day. You were obviously, especially, but all of us. We were like talking to them like very gently. We were extremely patient, I guess you would say, with them. Like we did not try to pick them up. We did not try to force anything.
Nope.
We pretty much, other than, when we had to get them in the carriers for what we thought was a good reason or for a good reason, we did everything on their terms. And so it was really gradual for them to trust us. But I think eventually they realized, they could trust us.
Right.
We were doing everything and like for their benefit.
For them. Yeah. And so going back to what you said about the cat lottery and all of that, because it's actually a big thing on TikTok. Well, I don't know if it is still now. It was like a couple months ago or a couple whatever ago, where people would joke that they won the cat lottery or the kitten lottery when they were out randomly walking somewhere. And if a kitten like ran up to them and was meowing or like climbed their leg or something, it was like, oh, I've won the kitten lottery. Like, you're coming home with me. And I mean, you obviously don't know how many of those people are actually kidding when they say that, if they, staging it, or like if they pick them up, excuse me, and then they just made the video, put them back down, let them go. Like, you have no idea what actually happens, right? But I do know that there are people, because they've continued like making videos with the kitten, that literally did just take this kitten from the wild and like took it home and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I feel like my issue with that is you don't know. I mean, maybe some people are doing like what I would consider the right thing, which is if you see a kitten or a cat out in the wild and you're thinking about bringing it home, quote unquote, or whatever, first of all, the right thing to do is not to do that. I want to start there. The second thing, if you're going to do that, you have to monitor and see, is it just this kitten? Because chances are it's not just that kitten. If there's a litter, there are other kittens. And then also, like with us, when we first found these kittens, the mother was not far at all.
No.
Like the entire time. And she still comes around. Like she was not far away from them at any point.
No.
And so the odds in these videos, if this is just a random occurrence for like whoever's walking, the odds that you see this kitten runs up to you, whatever, that the mother is near, like even like a few yards away in a bush or something, the odds are very high that the mother is right there. And probably isn't going to do anything.
Yeah. And a lot of times the kitten doesn't know to be scared of people.
Right.
The mother, assuming, say it is a stray, usually is.
Right.
So she will not, run out to get the kitten, even if she is just a few feet away.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of, if you think about it, when we first saw her, that's sort of how it was. I mean, she was only, I don't know, I'm saying 5 feet, maybe 6 feet, maybe 8 feet, whatever.
She wasn't far.
She wasn't far at all. So she was kind of.
But she also didn't like come up to us at any point.
She was as close, I think, as she felt comfortably that she could get to try to, quote unquote, protect the kittens.
Right. Like she wanted to make it clear to us that she was there.
Right. Right. And she wasn't aggressive or anything like that. She was just sort of there looking at us like, and we immediately, and this, we didn't mention this, but immediately when we saw this, we like backed off.
We left.
We went in the house.
Yeah.
And I mean, we had the camera there so we could sort of see what was going on, you know? And at that point, we just figured, okay, this is the mother. We trusted her. We didn't assume that she was going to take them away. But I think at that point, because we were there, she didn't see that as a safe area anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why she took them. And the funny thing is the spot that she took them, we didn't know this, but it was 20 feet away maybe?
Yep,
not
it was
even.
not far at all.
Yeah, maybe not even 20 feet, something like that. So it wasn't that she went very far.
Yeah, but so my point here is a lot of times if you see just a stray, I mean, I obviously don't know a ton about other animals in general, but like for cats specifically, if you see a stray cat or a stray kitten, there's a very good chance that that kitten is not actually alone and is probably fine and living like its best life, and you should just leave it alone. If you want to make the cute video, go for it, and then leave them alone and like let them live their lives.
I mean, I think it's not to say that there may not be a case where the kitten's by itself or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, you shouldn't immediately just take the kitten without having any idea what the situation is.
Okay, so let's just stop here because this is getting too long.
Okay.
And we'll catch it up next week because I feel like we haven't even gotten to a real point yet, but you're used to that.
It's just about my nap time anyway.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay, so see, this is your fault now. You've done this to me.
We take turns
because he won't stop clearing his throat. Oh my. Okay. We're just going to have to cut all that out because that.
Okay, I'm good.
No, you're not. Do you need a cough drop or something?
Maybe I do.
Okay, well, it's too late for that.
Coffee with sweet cream.
Okay, just don't slurp it right next to the mic. And here we are. So anyway, what had happened was, can you stop?
I had to do that just because you said not to.
Yeah, I know. And you get mad at me when I do stuff like that. This is my point. You made me like this.
It's a parent-child relationship.
Anyway.